Folks, Alec Anderson here, Fat Egg, coming to you in association with the fact that I'm constantly promising you a quick video and can never quite deliver it. So let's see if I can manage this tonight. A couple of new subscribers. I wanted, a couple of 100,000 new subscribers per day during the international break. We're up to 21. I'm looking to get, the remaining 1.3, 1.4 million before Rangers kick off tomorrow, and that way I'll have met my target for the international break. But I want to talk to you briefly just now, Friday tea time, because Michael Beale had his press conference, his pre-match press conference, Friday breakfast time. 9 o'clock this morning. There was Raman Barwash of STV, Ronnie Esplin, Chris Jack, and Joshua Barry of the Rangers Review were there. I'm sorry if I've missed out anybody else. A few voices I didn't recognise, but these are the guys putting the questions and getting the answers from the manager, that maybe answers that we don't actually want, but we needed to see Michael Beale. As I said yesterday in my kind of convoluted video that I posted late last night, there's an almost kind of voyeuristic aspect to seeing Michael Beale in his first pre-match presser. Since that debacle against Celtic and the horrific reaction from the fans that day, it was almost like you were seeing a film star who'd been through a car crash, and this was her first public appearance, and you're wondering, has the plastic surgery worked? Is it going to have ruined their looks? I was talking about, would we see something behind his eyes? This kind of thing. And it's really horrible. So, as I was saying yesterday, it's almost kind of prurient, particularly hypocritical, because it's people like me who have put him under that pressure, who have ravaged the man, probably emotionally, in a reaction to not just that loss to Celtic a week back on Sunday, but to the humiliation we suffered over in Eindhoven a few days before that. And straight away, Big Raman gets in there and asks him quite gently, I thought, about if he's had time to reflect, how it's been during the international break since that defeat to Celtic. And he said, there's been a lot of reflection. Michael Beale said there's been a lot of reflection. It's been a good time to communicate, some good training on the pitch. I've seen a good response from the players. It's important we put that into tomorrow's game and performance now. And he saved himself at the end there. It's important we put that into tomorrow's game and performance now, because the phrase "I've seen a good response from the players" had me straight away shouting at the television. I was watching the YouTube via the telly, because I'm just that fancy. I'm just that technically proficient. But you've not seen a good response. You can't say there's been a good response to what happened to us against Eindhoven and against Celtic until we play a football match and win it convincingly, until we go out at McDiarmid Park tomorrow and put them to the sword in some style. That's the only time you can even begin to say there's been a response, and you actually need so much more than that. Michael Beale needs to, as I was saying yesterday, win the League Cup, do Celtic and Hogmanay, and be pretty excellent in the Europa League as well, even though nobody will be wearing that as an excuse for what's happened so far. And none of the support are going to kind of let him away with merely performing well in the Europa League, something, unfortunately for him, we're really used to now. It's all about domestic perfection, really, between now and the next Old Firm game, as far as Michael Beale's concerned. So when it sounded to me straight away that he was saying, we've had a good response. I'm like, no, this is what you do in the training pitch isn't a response, Michael. It doesn't count as that. And it's one of those moments, the man's barely sat in his seat at the presser. He's barely got the first response out his mouth, and I'm jumping down his throat. Mentally, in my own head, I'm jumping down his throat. I'm not liking what he's saying, and it tells me I might sit here and try to be Mr. Sensible, try to play the old sage where I've been watching Rangers for 40 odd years, and you don't want to be writing anybody off too quickly, because sometimes they can come round and bite you in the backside. Maybe I'm just a coward hedging my bets, because I'm recording myself. I'm literally recording my opinions almost on a game by game basis. So it'd be really easy if Michael Beale does turn things around. If I've slaughtered him, then it'll come back to haunt me. And I can guarantee the atmosphere just now, if social media is evidence of an atmosphere, is one of, you would think the entire Rangers support absolutely despises the man. There are people who have avatars, their X or Twitter avatars. It's Michael Beale's face with the old red line through it. Why not? It did for Wilson. It did for Park, why not just keep it going? You're going to, you'll get, whatever you want, apparently, these days as a Rangers supporter if you mount some sort of protest. So I think if Michael Beale was to turn it around, suddenly you would find maybe only 5% of the Rangers support are owning up to the fact that they absolutely despise Michael Beale at the beginning of the season. They'll be like, well, I thought it would be too hasty to write him off. I could see there was something there, even though there was a bit of panic at the beginning of the season. But now that we're league champions, I've decided I always loved them. And maybe that's what I'm doing when I'm trying to be super rational about it, because the minute I heard him talking today, I was like, shut up. When he said the thing about the pitch, they've been training on the pitch. That's when I really made a fool of myself. And I'm like, what are you talking about training the pitch? Why are you talking that way about Auchenhowie? Where else are they going to train other than a pitch? But what he meant, of course, is the England national team have been using our training facilities at Auchenhowie this week. So the Rangers were on the pitch. They were at Ibrox training. And that's why they go to the museum, because, as one of my pals on Twitter, Robert, said, it's just along the road. It's just next door. Why wouldn't they go to the museum at Edmiston House? And I'm thinking, yeah, why wouldn't they go to the museum? But why is it being filmed by the club and posted at the very time we need to know that players are working their backsides off and are kind of ashamed of themselves, almost? I don't want to hound them to the point of affecting their mental health, but just for their own sake, to kind of protect themselves. I think the club's been protecting them more. I knew as soon as I saw that video last week of the Rangers players dotting about the museum, and of course they're going to be smiling and looking kind of casual because they're dotting about a museum, looking at all the exhibits. I just knew what the responses were going to be when it was going up on YouTube and going up on Twitter. And sure enough, underneath it, it's like, yeah, you can see comments that, yeah, they're learning what it's like to be a real Rangers player. They're looking at real Rangers teams. They're finding out what a trophy is and stuff. This is just, why are we doing this to ourselves? And this is Rangers supporters. I mean, obviously, you get cheeky stuff with Celtic fans as well, or fans of other clubs, but it's Rangers fans that are piling in there. And I thought they should really have looked after themselves today. And that feeling went through Michael Beale's press conference today. I thought the media guys did really well. They were quite pointed without being kind of pile-on merchants. They were asking the questions that the fans wanted answered, mostly about his position, how he's feeling about his position. And he was, he's talking to Bisgrove and Bennett. He's talking to James Bisgrove, kind of every day almost, and then John Bennett, the chairman, he's talking to him every couple of days. And this was when somebody was asking if he needs assurances about his job. Does he need assurances about his position? And he was saying, no, I don't need the assurances because I'm part of a plan. I'm part of a plan of where the club is going. And I just felt that's... It almost felt like you feel sorry for him, and there definitely was something. I was saying yesterday, are we going to see like he's died a little? Is there going to be something behind his eyes, a new determination or whatever like that? There was definitely something going on. The man has definitely been changed by, I would imagine, the abuse he's taken more than the actual performances themselves, or Rangers losing these games. And I don't want to be part of any pile-on that way. I don't want to affect anybody's mental health, as I say. But there's no doubt about it. He's taken a blow. There's really something different about his demeanour today, and he was kind of veering between the Michael Beale that we know, who will just chat away and loves talking tactics and stats and what have you. But it was coming against a Michael Beale who is a bit ratty. I'm hoping a bit more gristle about him would be good, for him. But when a Rangers manager, particularly a manager of a big club, is in this situation, the situation he's in just now, it's a difficult balance to kind of come back, sound a bit harder. You're going to end up sounding petulant. Like it's getting to you. It's really easily done. For example, today when he's talking about, Michael Beale doesn't have a go at referees, doesn't really have a go at officials, but he just came out quite firmly saying that, we should have got that goal against Celtic, one that Kamar Roof put in the back of the net, and it just felt like, he's quite right. I think it was a really ropey decision, but it's not the kind of thing we can rely on. And he then went on to talk about small margins, and worse than that, he cited the fact that I think he was basically trying to see if we get the best defensive record in the league, and we've only conceded 2 goals. So without having checked out the league table, yeah, that'll be a good, the goals against column. We've only got 2. I know Celtic lost 2 goals at home to St Johnstone. Ross County. In the first day of the season, they beat them 4-2. But that's the thing. Celtic beat them 4-2. We've had 2 games where we have completely failed to score. 2 games out of the 4 we've played so far where the opposition has only needed 1 goal to beat us because we can't score. And he then talks about the fact today, then he mentions he is, don't get me wrong, he's not completely losing it. He's qualifying it all by saying, yeah, we're not scoring enough goals. This is something we've got to rectify. It's not good enough. We're not making excuses. But when you talk about us having registered 21 more shots on goal than any other team in the league, it's out of place. At a time where your presser is more a kind of State of the Nation address, it just seems like you're trying to almost flummox us with statistics, and it reflects badly on Michael Beale that he would do that with it. He would try that with us because the whole point is he's trying to say, look, we've just got to get something, just twist something. One little thing's got to come good, and we're showing signs, we're getting the ball into the box, we're having plenty of shots. But just get things a bit more spot on, just adjust something slightly. It's all going to come good. But that one thing that's got to adjust slightly is scoring goals, which is pretty flipping major and has been a problem since he arrived. A problem before he arrived as well. Let's not put it all on him. But he's talking about the rhythm needs to get settled. The players, the new players that have come in, he's saying that's not an excuse anymore. The fact that it's a new team. He was... What did he say? He said something about, there's 7 or 8 players have played every game except the League Cup game. So the 8 kind of major competitive games we've played this season, the squad's actually, the first 11's quite regular. For the most part, it's just in the front areas that we're trying to change it around. And I was saying yesterday that people keep saying they can't settle on a front 3, but Dessers has played virtually every game, and people are annoyed about the fact Dessers are getting picked all the time, so you can't have it both ways. The guy that's one settled aspect in Michael Beale's mind. Well, it was before this international break anyway. So he wasn't trying to... He was kind of saying he's not making excuses while also sounding like he was making excuses. It was a bit concerning. He talked at one point about that would be foolish of them, referring to the fans, and it was in... the context was that if the fans didn't think the players were upset, that would be foolish of them. He wasn't want to give away the private conversations that had taken place. It was a private what had been said between the manager and the players. I think they'd had the hard chat. He was saying they'd had the hard chat amongst themselves after that poor performance against Celtic. But he wouldn't tell us what it was. But he says if the fans don't think the players are hurting as much as them, then that would be foolish of them. I thought, you got to be careful with that kind of stuff, Michael. You got to watch yourself. Don't start calling us fools. Even just if I'm taking it out of context, that's kind of what it was amounting to. And then at one point, somebody talked to him about how he's effectively the director of football. And does he feel he's got more accountability as a result of that? Maybe that's why the reaction from the fans was so bad after that loss to Celtic. And he just, in the same sentence, I'm happy to take the accountability. Not every decision is mine at the club. I'm happy to take the accountability. Not every decision is mine at the club. So I'm happy to take the accountability, but it's not down to me. There's an excuse straight away. It was just quite contradictory straight away, almost kind of oxymoronic. And I felt for them. I must admit, on a personal basis, I did feel for the man. I know there's a lot of Rangers fans out there hearing this, be thinking, no, he gets paid the money. He's making my life miserable by not being good enough. So why would you feel sorry for him? But I think just on a human basis, you've got to say it's a really hard job. And I know that just from my own reaction. A 54-year-old man sitting. I've really not get that bad a life, and I'm just sitting there thinking, why are you saying that? What do you mean by that? Jumping down the guy's throat before he even gets to open his mouth. But there was something about him today where he certainly knows that, despite the fact him almost taking umbrage at somebody asking him. It was a question that kept coming back to him, but I think is a really pertinent question, and almost sympathetic. That's the worst reaction people have heard from a Rangers supporter at the end of a game, certainly for decades, I would say, towards the Rangers players, towards the Rangers management. And how did he feel about that? How was that affecting them? And I think he said, I know Glasgow. I knew it was getting into. Basically, is what he was saying. I know what Glasgow's like. I know what it's like up here, and it sounded a bit kind of, you nutters. It did sound a bit. I just know these are knee-jerk idiots, which is right, we are. But you don't want to be coming across like that. It was a wee touch of the Mark Warburton telling us that we need to be just chuffed that we're back in the top flight at all, and getting gubbed by Hearts at Tynecastle is just one of these things that's going to happen. Yet I think he was getting the tone slightly wrong today, but I can't ask the man to look like he's taken it all on board. None of us can look like he's taken on board how poor that was against Celtic and against PSV Eindhoven, and then expect him to come out and be word perfect and get the tone just right, and suddenly be, you know, a reincarnation of Walter Smith. So yeah, it wasn't a good watch, and it's not just down to Michael Beale, it's down to how we're all feeling. We go to McDiarmid Park tomorrow, 12:30 kick-off live on Sky. And yeah, it's a place that's given us a few problems, especially since we come back into the top flight. There's been games where we just go up there and, you know, we won 3-0 or 2-0 and just got the job done. I remember a game, it must have been kind of December time under Gio, just after Gio had arrived and we're going on a great run. And we went up there and we won 1-0 with one of the worst performances I've ever watched from Rangers. It was awful. The whole game was like watching paint dry. It was terrible, but the nervousness, we're trying to keep this good run going, and it was absolutely awful. And then we've had these games, of course, where they basically put Gio to the sword last season by beating us up there 2-1, a 2 each draw, I think under Steven Gerrard, where we were 1-0 down, then come back to be winning 2-1 in the second half and still let them back to take some points off us. So it's always difficult. It's been difficult for us a lot of times at McDiarmid. We had that Scottish Cup win there last season. That was just 1-0, Borland's goal. That was quite good. But they're only on 2 points. I actually thought St Johnstone were doing better than that. I just want to get away from club football altogether over the last week or so. I hadn't checked out the league table. I didn't realise St Johnstone actually rock bottom. I must have just known that result against Celtic. They drew with Celtic at Parkhead and thought, oh, St Johnstone are much better this season under Stephen McLean. But that was one of only 2 points they've gained in the league so far. We've got 6. We're in 4th place, so we can't really be turning our nose up at them. But they're bottom of the table very firmly. I think it was on goal difference from Aberdeen. It's not very firmly at all. But the 2 draws they've had, so that one at Parkhead against the reigning champions, and they also had a draw in the last league outing, which was at home to Dundee, a big Tayside derby, and they were 2-0 down. And I don't know how late the first goal was, but the equaliser was definitely deep into injury time, virtually the last kick of the ball. So it's like they like a big game. That seems to be the message from St Johnstone so far this season, and we are a big game for them. We might just be the turnaround in form that they need. Far less them being what we need tomorrow to get our season going again. We're not going to get the season going again by beating St Johnstone. Michael Beale isn't going to turn things around by winning this game tomorrow, but he'll certainly make things a hell of a lot worse for himself if he doesn't beat them, and beat them well. We also had, I think it was Lundstrom was talking to Sky today, and he's saying that thing. I don't know if Beale said it as well. There's still plenty of football to play. There's a long time to go. Not for you, there isn't. Not for Michael Beale, there isn't. Tomorrow has to be done and done well. There's not plenty of football. It's one game and it's tomorrow, and you need to get it done properly. And I say we then have these 4 successive home games before the end of September in 3 different competitions, every one of which is potential disaster if it doesn't go according to plan. Because apart from anything else, the Bears are going to be there in huge numbers. The home games are maybe not what they're needing just now. And the big news today, of course, on an injury point of view, Michael Beale's coming out there, just wants to start off the club season again, wants to get the club football going again for us all with a bit of good news, and he's telling us that Todd Cantwell is out for 3 or 4 weeks, and straight away it becomes that Michael Beale thing when he's talking about injuries, where you don't trust him anymore. And it's okay if you think he's trying to fool the opposition, but it's just getting to the point now where it's not helping him. Maybe he's trying to be too accurate, he's trying to give us too much information, and we just assume he's trying to fool us. But this whole thing of Todd Cantwell's out for 3 or 4 weeks, but we got the diagnosis like 1.5 weeks ago, so it's obviously after the Old Firm game, so we're taking that 1.5 weeks off the 3 to 4 weeks. So I'm hoping he's going to come back for the Livingston game, that League Cup game, because we need that League Cup. And he's going to have so much to prove. He's going to go out and do the business. Cantwell hasn't been at his best this season, but I think he's really underappreciated his performance against PSV Eindhoven at Ibrox in particular. I thought was fantastic. He played poorly against Ross County, and that was a game that I thought he should have been rested in, because he ran himself into the ground against PSV Eindhoven at Ibrox, and we're going to need him to do the same. the following midweek away to Eindhoven, and I thought it was strange that he started that game until I remembered that he didn't start against Kilmarnock at Rugby Park in the first game of the season. And by the time he did come on in the second half of that game, it was too late. The poor tone had been set. I'm hoping that Tom Lawrence being back, he was out talking to the press today. He was the player put forward for that presser. I'm hoping him being back and seeming to be really up for it is going to kind of make up for that. I've got a bit of faith in Lammers. I'm sorry. I think Sam Lammers has got something. And I assumed, there's a lot of debate about it today. Do you think we could change Lammers about and make him the Todd Cantwell? I just assumed Lammers was the kind of Todd Cantwell backup. So just the way he's been playing, putting together these different performances in different parts of the pitch this season. I was good. He was one of the few players who was good in pre-season as well. I thought he was quite good in the friendlies, but like everybody else, we want him to do the business in the competitive matches. So it wouldn't surprise me if Lammers come in tomorrow and the big debate goes on whether it's going to be, is Danilo going to get a start? Is he going to go with Dessers again? And I must admit, I'm quite looking forward to seeing Dessers after having had the pre-season, and we know he was trying to get back to full fitness, so he's had plenty of games under his belt, he's had plenty of fitness training under his belt, and he's had a wee week to kind of let that, 10 days, whatever it is, 14 days with the international break, to let that kick in now. I want to see Dessers starting, I've got to be honest with you. And I don't really, Matondo, Sima, Danilo, I just feel all much of a muchness when you put together everything that they're offering. So I'm not really caring who's playing up front with them. I think it's going to be a back four, the usual back four. I think it's going to be Suter, who has brought the ball forward. I saw on, was it BBC Scotland website, he has brought the ball forward more distance than any other player in the 4 league games that have been played in Scotland this season. It was something like 3/4 of a kilometre all in, or something like that. So yeah, he's giving goals away, but he's also bringing the ball forward a lot. So I don't know. I think it's going to be Suter and Goldson, Jack Butland in goals. I hope it's Borna, who's been doing the business for Croatia. Ever since he wasn't able to play against Celtic. I do hope Borna comes out, maybe in away games, maybe the best way to do it before the fans get more confused about whether he was copping out of that Old Firm game or whether he was genuinely injured and the manager was trying to use him as a bluff to kind of try and fool Brendan Rodgers by saying in the presser before the Celtic game that Borna was going to be fine. And then he doesn't appear in that game. Oh, it's a whole confusing mess. So I like the idea that Borna comes out tomorrow and just gets back into firing in those crosses. The man who scored our winner, that must be the last time we were at McDermott, was it? That last time we were at McDermott? That Scottish Cup game last season. Borna scores a winner. So let's get him on the park tomorrow. Tav scored some wonder goals, scored penalties, whatever, at McDermott plenty of times. He's the man for me. Get him in there, and then that's what it really gets interesting. What's going to happen with the midfield? I'm hoping maybe it's Ryan Jack. I don't really want to see John Lundstrom starting this game tomorrow. I wouldn't be surprised if he did, but I'm hoping it's Ryan Jack in there. We've got Rascan, maybe Cifuentes, and then, as I say, up front, it's going to be maybe Lawrence or Lammers playing behind Dessers and. I don't know, either Matondo. So I'm not really terrifically bothered, and I think we're at that stage though. It doesn't really matter who we play, who we field tomorrow. This team has got to go out there focused. It's got to go out there sharp. It's got to go out there determined, and it's got to show some cohesion and just a determination that they're going to turn this round. And it's got to produce a kind of quality that assures us Michael Beale is the man to take us forward for the rest of September at least. Listen guys, that's enough from me. Tune in to Gersnet tonight. The Gersnet Friday Night Preview Pod is on live on the Gersnet YouTube channel 9 o'clock tonight, and it's Craig Ray in the hot seat, and I think we've got a late substitution. It's Stuart Weir's coming in so to be his guest tonight, and obviously there's plenty to talk about. I was going to try and talk to you about all the nonsense happening at Hampden the other night, and how suddenly that's blown up on Rangers Twitter and people are telling us what you need to be politically and all that to support Rangers, but there's just no way of covering all the different variations of national anthems, independence or separation from the UK, and how that affects what national team, how you support the national team, whether you should support the national team, how that affects whether that makes you a Rangers supporter or not. It's just a whole lot of nonsense. It's actually actually too much to take on board. But there's been some serious hypocrisy from some Scottish politicians about songs and stuff. So there is, maybe the boys will touch on that tonight in Jersnet, who knows. But I certainly just not have any time to get into it. We've got enough on our plate just now dealing with Michael Beale and the team he's going to field tomorrow. Let's hope they do the business. Enjoy the game, troops. Talk to you soon.